Okay, so today we're going to be with questions 5 through 8. And I'm going to work solving for it by substitution. All right, so we're going to solve the variable. So I see two letters. I want to know that the value of the two letters that make both statements true. So let's take a look. For substitution, one of my letters must be by itself. In one of the equations, doesn't have to be in both, but in one of my equations. And I notice on the first equation that A is by itself. It says A equals 3B minus 4. So A is by itself. What I'm going to do, I'm going to replace it on the second equation. Instead of A, I'm going to write 3B minus 4. So let me rewrite, again, let me rewrite the second equation, but instead of A, I'm going to write 3B minus 4. So I get 3B minus 4 is equal to 2B minus 4. I rewrote the second equation, but instead of A, I wrote 3B minus 4 because I was told on the first equation that that's what A is equal to. If you notice, I wanted to write everything in terms of one letter. That's really what I wanted to do. Right. So everything is in terms of B, so let me solve for B. What I'm going to do, let me separate my sides to the equal side. I'm going to have letters on one side and numbers on the other. The 2B, let me move it to the other side as a minus 2B. And this minus 4, let me move it to the other side as a plus 4. Remember, every time I move something from one side to the other, I gotta switch signs. Notice on the 2B, I change it to minus 2B. And the minus 4, I change it to plus 4. So I gotta switch signs. All right, so on the left side, I have B's, right? 3B minus 2B, right? 3 minus 2. That gives me 1B. I'm not gonna write 1B, I'm just gonna write B because it's 1B. Negative 4 plus 4 is 0. I know one value, B is equal to 0. I know one value. I'm trying to find both values. What I'm going to do, let me find this right on the first one. Right when I said A was by itself, I'm gonna rewrite that equation, but instead of B, I'm gonna write 0 because I just found out that B is equal to 0. So let me rewrite that as A is equal to 3 times 0 minus 4. So I have that A is equal to 0 minus 4, right? I did my multiplication, 3 times 0. So I'm gonna get that A is equal to negative 4. For the homework, I'm only gonna ask for one letter, and I'm gonna tell you guys which one I want. It's either A or B, right? Or C or D, whichever letters I'm using. I'm only gonna ask for the value of one of them. Let's take a look at question number 6. C is by itself, so everything that C is equal to, I'm gonna replace it on the second equation. So let me rewrite this as 3D minus 18. It's equal to 14 minus 5D. Let me separate my sides to the equal side. Let me move my D's first. Let me move this minus 5D as a plus 5D. And this minus 18, let me move it as a plus 18. All right, 3D plus 5D, that's 8D. 14 plus 18, that's 32. Let me divide both sides by 8. So I get that D is equal to 4. All right, I have one value. Now let me replace this on this one, right, where C was by itself. But I'm going to rewrite that. But instead of D, I'm going to write a 4. So let me write this as C is equal to 3 times 4 minus 18. So I have that C is equal to 12 minus 18. So I have that C is equal to negative 6. So it's nice when one letter is by itself. Take a look at questions 7 and 8. What happens when I don't have a letter by itself? I will get a letter by itself. Now looking at question 7, if I want E by itself, I'm looking at the first equation. I'm gonna have to divide everything by a negative 3 eventually. But I can see that I can get F by itself. Let me rewrite this Let me rewrite this as F is equal to positive 3e minus 3. Look, all I did was I moved the e to from the left to the right side, but don't forget to switch signs. So let me cancel this out, right? I rewrote that as F is equal to 3e minus 3. I need to have a letter by itself. Okay. So I'm going to rewrite the second equation, but instead of F, I'm going to write 3e minus 3. So let me rewrite this as 7e minus 5. Inside parentheses, let me write 3e minus 3, and all of this is equal to negative 1. Notice I wrote 7e minus 5f equals negative 1. But instead of f, I used 3e minus 3. All right, let me get rid of parentheses. So I have 7e minus 15e plus 15 is equal to negative 1. Right, don't forget to distribute the negative 5. So to simplify things, on the left side, I can combine my e's, right? 7 minus 15. That gives me negative 8e plus 15 is equal to negative 1. All right, I want the e by itself. So this plus 15, let me move it over as a minus 15, right? Don't forget to switch the sign. So I got negative 8e is equal to negative 16. Let me divide both sides by negative 8. So I get that e is equal to positive 2. Nice, not that bad. So e is equal to positive 2. Now that I have the value of one of my letters, I can solve for the other one. In fact, let me circle it. Let me plug it in here. I'm going to be able to solve for f. I'm going to rewrite f equals, let me move this over a little, 3e minus 3, right? So I'm going to write this as 3, but instead of e, I'm using 2 minus 3. Notice I went 3e minus 3, but instead of e, I wrote 2 because I know the value of e. So I have that f equals 6 minus 3. So I'm just going to say f is equal to 3. Let's take a look at another example. Let's take a look at number 8. I can get, on the second equation, I can get h by itself. Let me rewrite that. I'm going to rewrite this as h is equal to positive 7g plus 24. Notice I switched the sign on the 7g because I moved it from the left to the right. Right? I wanted to get the h by itself. So now let me rewrite the first equation. But instead of h, I'm going to use 7g plus 24. So let me rewrite that as negative 8g minus 8. But inside parentheses, I'm going to write 7g plus 24. Now this is equal to 0. All right, I replace the value of h. Let me get rid of parentheses. So this negative 8g has nothing to do with parentheses. Let me distribute the negative 8. Negative 8 times 7 is negative 56g. Negative 8 times 24 is negative 192. This is equal to 0. I see the g's. I can combine those, right? Negative 8, negative 56. That gives me negative 64. So I have negative 64g minus 192 is equal to 0. Separate my sides through the equal side. I want this minus 192. I'm going to move it to the other side as a plus 192. So I have that negative 64g is equal to positive 192. Right? 0 plus 192 is 192. To find out G, let me divide this both sides by a negative 64. I know positive divided by negative is negative. 192 divided by 64 is 3. Let me circle it. That gives me part of my answer. If I'm solving for G, well, G is equal to negative 3. If I want to solve for H, I'm going to plug it in here, right, where H is by itself. Let me write this in red. So I'm going to rewrite this as H is equal to 7 times a negative 3 plus 24. Right, I know the value of G, so I'm going to use it. So I have that H is negative 21 plus 24. So that means that H must be 3. Right, notice I solved for both letters, G and H. All right, let me zoom out. This is what we work with.